Rave culture as a whole is a group of individuals who gather in a nightclub, warehouse, or private property in order to watch a DJ perform, who would be playing a series of repetitive beats in the style of jungle, acid house, or many electric dance genres. Rave culture, as we know it today, emerged from cities such as New York and Chicago, coming over to Britain in the 1980s as acid house and techno became popular amongst Britain. This meant that the rave culture blew up over the country as partygoers had their first experience of recreational drug use and electronic dance music at a whole new level. Raving and the combination of different social groups then led to the creation of a subculture of ravers in Britain, as the group felt a sense of value consensus and community among themselves. Following the music into Britain then came the vast growth of recreational drug selling and use amongst the nation. Drugs such as MDMA and ecstasy then became being used a lot more often in the UK. Users of these drugs are said to feel a euphoric and afraid inner feeling from the use of the drug. MDMA and ecstasy are known for its artificial enjoyment and feeling of escapism brought about through the drug. These factors, along with an increased heart rate and feeling of everlasting energy, enhance the experience of the rave for the raver, and therefore became a large part of the raving culture altogether. However, although some effects are still unknown, MDMA in the long term has been noticed to cause an impact on memory, mood, or sleep from regular use. Other drugs such as cocaine, LSD and speed were also used amongst the raving community. However, the introduction of such drugs like MDMA and ecstasy then became the main focal point of raving culture. One large part of the rave culture within the British society was Rage nightclub in London, a club that opened in 1988 which had inevitably created the jungle and breakbeat history of the raving society within the UK.
But Rage was this other idea of playing this kind of mixture of kind of European and English music, and of course Fabio and Grooverider championed this new sound that was coming out of rave culture.
Certain artists such as Fabio and Grooverider helped explode rave music into the UK. Their mixture of Detroit and Belgian techno, as well as uses of different breakbeats, not only helped grow the rave culture in the 80s, but also has helped stem and create the genre of drum and bass vastly within the rave culture, helping birth what they have today. As well as these, other artists such as Carl Cox and Goldie are amongst those who began within Rage, helping grow and create this community of music such as techno and jungle beat within the UK. And as these are now debatably some of the biggest names amongst their genres respectively, it may be argued that the opening of Rage had a huge lasting effect on the UK rave culture. The introduction of the raving culture began in Britain as Margaret Thatcher was in power of the country. Margaret Thatcher was Prime Minister of Great Britain from 1979 to 1990. Margaret Thatcher had plans to revolutionise Britain by introducing free markets, privatising countless businesses nationwide and establishing league tables amongst schools in order to hopefully improve standards all over the country. Thatcher also made a movement of closing the coal mines within the UK over her reign as Prime Minister. As she made it illegal for the miners to strike, this led to the miners' trade unions diminishing quickly, as well as a major victory for Thatcher, as this gave her huge political power afterwards. Once the strike was ruled illegal in 1984, it quickly ended, eventually taking the UK coal mine count from 174 to just 6 coal mines. The warehouses which were left empty in the 1980s were quickly rushed upon by ravers, setting up inside the warehouses with speakers and lights, turning it into their own as many in the community would attend, using recreational drugs and listening to rave music in these warehouses. One of the UK's largest ever free party raves was the Castle Morton Free Party in 1992. This rave went on for 7 days and had just under 40,000 attendees over the week. With what was meant to be only a free festival quickly became out of hand and eventually went down as the biggest illegal rave ever held in the United Kingdom. This event inevitably resulted in a trial costing £4 million. Following the Castle Morton rave, along with consistent use of warehouses around the country, the government eventually intended to stop all of this, as in 1994 the government passed a law banning large events featuring music which characterised by the emission of a succession of repetitive beats. The introduction of this caused outrage amongst the raving community, as riots and raves, which were now illegal, began around London and around the United Kingdom. This would then lead to the ravers being labelled as deviant, as well as the underclass. Also, at the same time, racial and class-based rioting was happening in the UK. Illegal raves or free parties are still an ongoing factor today, even though illegal, which again shows deviance nature amongst the subculture. Many of the raving community began rioting in 1994 by attending raves in London to show their rage at the introduction of the act. The clothing associated with rave culture in the United Kingdom didn't see much past the wavy, colourful clothing of the 1970s disco era. The introduction of the new music into the nation also came with a wave of new fashion, as clothing began to become a thing of recognition almost within the culture of raving. Although clothing began to become more like sportswear, the style and fashion was ever growing, with a mixture of sportswear and high-end fashion both being worn. Raving as a subculture can be seen as transgressive due to the aggressive nature of the riots, deviation and causing public harm, along with the recreational drug use and obvious law breaking by continuing to run these events within the rave culture. It could be said that this transgressive behaviour amongst the subculture would have proven the point of the police, as they continued to deviate against the law, and therefore they were being transgressive and deviant. It could still be argued that contemporary ravers deviate the law due to the continuous recreational drug use or antisocial behaviour, although in the current day this raving culture has become even more strong as the community grows nationwide. This final video is taken from an old free party and shows the effects of drugs and also the community around it.
Good atmosphere. Excellent atmosphere.
Is it good music?
Music's always good from Fantasia.
Is Fantasia the best?
Yeah. Definitely.
No, let him go right by. Yeah, just go for it. Go ahead.